Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote just for this episode. At the end of the day, when you're in these interviews, especially if you're going for a sales role, if you can't sell yourself, you absolutely aren't giving them confidence that you can sell their product. So be confident and be prepared. Practice those interviews. Lyndsey Cohen, our guest today, has been on the show before. That's where I got the quote. If you haven't listened to episode 212, season 18, the one and only Limitless with Linz is back again to educate us, coach us on not just sales, hustle, high performance, entrepreneurship, working the corporate ladder to success, and really how to prepare ourselves for interviews and interviewing others and so much more. But to, yeah, teach us about winning. So thanks for coming back to the Culture Matters podcast. I'm so excited. I wish we were recording even before I hit record because it sounds like you said you've had such an unbelievably powerful year. So congratulations on all your success. And first, obviously, I want your thoughts on your quote from last time and if your thoughts have changed or even not even changed, but evolved or what you think about what you said. I love that quote from last episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me today. But to be honest, it's been a crazy year, but I don't even remember saying that. I didn't even know that was I was like, oh, who said this? Actually, when you were talking, I was like, it's not of a like who said this? So that's actually really funny that I was the one that said
Yeah,
that.
I just
Um,
re-listened to the last one and preparing,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, damn, that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, it hasn't changed much. I always coach my clients this. I don't care if you're in sales, if you're an engineer, or what type of role you're applying to, or what you're doing in life. Whether you're going on a date or you're going on an interview, you should be selling yourself. And I mean that in the highest level. You need to be selling your skill sets, selling your ideas, selling your vision, whether that be to somebody in the Shark Tank or a date or in an interview. So I fully believe that that's been a pillar of mine since I got into sales, and that has not changed. And I think it's a good foundation, absolutely, for anybody just in general in life.
How important has repetition played in your confidence building? Like the more you, because we were talking before, you had 100 clients in a month, for example. I can only imagine how much repetition you had serving customers. If you think there's been a connection with repetition and your confidence as you've grown your business.
Yeah, I think that the repetition was helpful, but I've been doing this for so long that when you get so much repetition in such a short amount of time, you need to keep it exciting. You need to keep that momentum going, and you need to stay excited for every single client.
Mm.
And whether it's my first client from 7 years ago or it's my thousandth client, you're my 100th client in 1 month, I need to maintain that same level of excitement. So keeping that going. And I think what keeps me going in such a repetitive time when it was just back to back to back calls was the people coming back to me saying they got that dream job, they got that dream interview, they're happy, they have their confidence level up, and for my confidence, I think it helps tremendously. I mean, the first time I posted on Instagram,
Wow.
posted on, you know, LinkedIn, I mean, it wasn't great, but the repetition made me better. So you're never going to be great at something the first time you do it. But I'd say the repetition over time's helped me, fine tune my craft with the resume writing. But also honestly, in anything I do, it's very helpful.
Yeah, what's it like, yeah, what's it like? I can imagine if you have 100 clients for our audience, you're helping people get their dream jobs is one part of this. And I can't imagine like a bunch of people all of a sudden get a job all at once or in a certain period of time. Like, what's that like to look back and think I'm impacting this many people's lives in this way? You ever get emotional or like, I don't know, weird about that?
It's rewarding. That's why I do what I do. I don't do it for the extra income. It's great to have that, but I started this not for the money. I started because I figured, let me help people. I kind of know what I'm doing at this point. I have confidence in this. I know enough to be dangerous. Let me share what I know. And when I get the reviews or I get people messaging me that I don't know that are from Europe or from a different part of the world than Delaware, it is so rewarding when they message me saying, wow, those words matter, or this really makes an impact. Even if it's something I repost from another platform and it's a repost, that's been really rewarding, is seeing that those mindset or something that I believe or something I'm saying is helping other people. Or they'll say, oh, I found you on TikTok and what you said resonated with me. That's why I'm working with you. That means so much.
Wow. What percentage would you say have come from the TikTok?
That was, I mean, this year it was bigger
Yeah.
than ever because of that one video. But in the past, it was always word of mouth or me
Wow.
promoting it myself on my own personal page on like Instagram. So I'd say more than ever, I've had a drive from social media. And I also did my website 2 years ago and I made sure it was, effective on Google. So I get calls as
Hmm.
well through Google, not as often, and those are more local people. But I'd say the biggest impact of people I've been able to reach has been social media than word
Oh,
of.
that video you're talking about. What was it? Why do you think it went viral? Wasn't it 5 million plus views?
Yeah, so what I think the reason that that video went viral per se was because honestly, everybody went off in the comments, whether they were agreeing with me or disagreeing.
Oh, interesting.
That's, I think, I'm not like some social media guru, but like I think that if you're ever talking about money,
Hmm.
people get very like touchy about what you're saying. And then also you've got people that, either maybe know what they're talking about or don't, all kind of commenting, and they'll go off on a whole thread of like 100
Hmm.
comments, arguing with one person with what they said, and people are defending me that don't know me or they're agreeing. So I think that's where it comes from. But I'd say the overall content right now of being able to talk to people that are looking for jobs is very relevant. And I think that's
Wait,
another.
were you looking for controversy or it just was
Oh,
something you thought and then it became controversial?
yeah, it wasn't like I was looking for controversy at all. I was like, this is just something that I talk about. And the topic was 4 phrases to never say in a salary negotiation. So that's why I think it was controversial. I didn't think it was. I
Right.
didn't know it was. It was just tips I give all the time. But
Four
I,
phrases to never say in a salary negotiation?
yes. And it was all
Oh,
about being
that's cool.
confident, how to be more powerful, because those are the biggest topics I cover with a lot of my clients. And those are the videos I make are topics that I cover with my clients. I figured if one person has a question about it, maybe other people do as well.
Oh, that's super smart. But now I want to know what are the four phrases to never say?
I'm trying to remember what I said, but
Oh,
specifically, I'd say, yeah, I'm like, I haven't listened to
yeah,
that video. I
yeah.
don't even listen to my own videos once, like, because I'm like, I don't want to hear
Yeah.
myself talk sometimes. But I'd say just right off the bat here, the first phrase to never say in a salary negotiation is, oh my God, thank you so much for your offer, and getting so excited. You need to have composure and you need to say, thank you so much for the offer. I appreciate it. Can you please send over the offer in writing and I will review it and get back to you in 24 hours. The second thing you never want to say is,
Hmm.
that number sounds awesome. 50,000 is great. I'll take it. No, you need to negotiate that number and save room for that. So those are some phrases. And the third phrase is, sorry, but is there any way that salary is negotiable? You never want to apologize for asking for more money when you know your worth. So that to me is just not apologizing.
What do you think the sorry butt does?
The sorry but the sorry in
Yeah.
general, I just don't agree with it. So in general, whenever saying sorry when you need to is appropriate, but asking for more money you shouldn't apologize for. So I think that's where it takes away your power and takes away your confidence. Instead of saying thank you so much for the offer, 50,000 is a great
Hmm.
start, is there any way we can get closer to 65,000? So see that phrasing, is there any way we can get closer to? And that way it's not combative, and it's also saying those are the levels of what I'm going for. Here's what I'd rather be. How can we get closer to that number? That's the key right there.
Wow.
And that way you're not insulting them. You're showing you're appreciative, but you're also not apologizing for knowing your worth. And the other thing too is
Wow.
this is kind of the last key part, is you don't want to just give a number and be like, well, I'm worth 65 and this is what I need and this is what I deserve because I have bills to pay and it's 2024 and inflation's crazy. Don't get into details. All you have to say is your 3 core values as to why you know you're worth that much. What is it that you bring to the table that nobody else does? And you can follow up by saying that, or you can say, based on my research, here's what I found. And I think that is the biggest key. It's saying, based on my research from current employees and what I see is, standard, as well as my current salary or other offers I've received. That's the other way to leverage. So I coached to that in that video by saying, um, you know, here's what some other offers that I'm getting. So you can say, this other company, I'd love to work for you. I appreciate the offer, but this other company offered me 65,000. You're my top choice. Is there any way we can get closer to that number? So you can
Wow.
leverage other offers, your current salary, things like
What type of issues do people have? I would love who could have an issue with that?
that. People find issues with everything. They would comment on my
Yeah.
split ends. I mean, there was just like, I was like, seriously?
Oh, that's
Like, it
good.
was people find issues with like every little detail. And I swear, and I mean this, like, I've always thought this,
Man.
money in politics and telling people how to raise their kids are just three things people don't like to discuss.
So
And I
there's
talk
it's so
about
deep to
money.
people's core. So so in that video, there was a lot of people that just ended up going against you, but then that ended up ironically making you way more successful.
Yeah, and there was a lot of people that agreed. So there, I'm looking back at it now. I haven't looked at this in a long
That's
time.
amazing.
1,800 comments. Okay. And
Wow.
115,000 likes. So that means that 115,000 people agreed with me. And maybe
Wow.
half of those comments were fighting, half agree. But some people were just asking questions. Somebody mentions Michael Scott taught us that a while back, reject the first offer even when they make it. So
Wow.
it's funny comments. Some agreed, some disagreed, and then people go at it. So I think that was the how that all kind of transpired, and it just kind of kept compounding. So it just pushes, the algorithm just pushes you once I think you get to a certain amount, maybe. So I think that's also a key part was the algorithm.
It's an interesting thing about this is like think about how much leverage you created for yourself by putting your thought out there that now 100 people want to do business with you. Like that kind of proves your point about this negotiation power or there's not, yeah, that we have more power than we ever. I'd love if you could expand on that, like that your clients, maybe whether they realize it or not, they have more power in negotiating their salary, their income, their future than ever before. Because look at you, you put your thought out there, and now you have all these people commenting on your thoughts, and then you get all this business coming in. And all
Yeah,
you
I
had to do was put out what you
it's how
thought.
you
So
present yourself. If you go into an interview and you know that they want you and they're giving you an offer, you have leverage. And I know that if somebody wants to work with me, then they're coming to me. I'm not emailing people, messaging them. Nothing wrong with that. It's just I know if you're coming to me already that you want to work with me. Same thing with an employee company relationship. If you're coming to me with an offer, I know you want to work with me. Now, I have some negotiating power here. And I'm not desperate. I know what I bring to the table, and I can reiterate that if I need to. And the worst thing that people can say is no, or the worst thing they can do is disagree with you. I don't, either way, at least I have no regrets in going back and asking for more. I remember when I was starting out in pharmaceutical sales, I made all the mistakes I just listed. I didn't know anything. Nobody taught me this. I was fresh out of college, about a year, and they gave me my offer while I was driving home from a
wow.
job I did not love because you're fresh out of college. You don't always get your dream job. And the recruiter said, we'll give you X amount of dollars and you're going to start in 2 weeks. And I said, that's amazing. Thank you so much. I cried like so, just truly, because this is my, so excited. And I had been rejected a couple times, and I was so excited. This was my dream company, dream job. And I really put a lot of effort into preparing for this interview. But what I should have done is stayed calm, cool, and collected and said, thank you so much for the offer. Can you send it over in writing and I'll get back to you in 24 hours? And negotiated that. And I will tell you, that offer was not great as far as cost goes because they knew they didn't have to pay me a lot getting fresh out of college and not knowing anything
Sure.
about the industry. But looking back, had I negotiated just 10 grand more or 8 grand more, I would be so much happier every single consecutive year after. I have been trying to claw my way out of that
Yeah.
low offer up until this year.
Wow.
Yes, and every manager gave me money and more money, and I got it, but I have truly not been at the point where I felt I was at that dollar amount, not per se salary wise, up until this year. And if I just negotiated, I wouldn't be clawing my way out of that. So that's why
So as part of the lesson, how we set the beginning of relationship with our company, what can have long-term impacts, and
I,
it matters greatly.
it does. And I'd say that's true in relationships too. I mean, how you walk in the door,
Sure.
first impressions, how you value yourself in the beginning is going to be, you're telling them how to treat you in a way, right? Or you're telling them what you believe you're worth. Now, at the time, honestly, I didn't think I could negotiate. But even in that point, based on what was on my resume, I knew how to sell. I could, if you can teach, if I could sell, devices over here, I can sell medication over there. You know what you kind of have a
Well,
foundation.
didn't you have a really banner year your first year?
Yes. And that's when they were like, okay, I made a name for myself. I proved that. So when I went back to negotiate the salary later, or just ask for more money, which luckily I work for a company that's very great at that. You don't have to do too much asking if you do a lot of the right things. They were willing to work with me, give me what I needed. And even then, too, looking back, especially, I truly regret not asking for stock options. Yeah, that was
Why?
back.
Yeah, can you expand on that? What's the
Yes, you
value of a
don't always
stock? What
have
people don't
to,
even know what that is.
right. So you don't always have to negotiate salary. People think dollar amount, but you can negotiate stock options or equity. You can negotiate paid time off. You can negotiate work from home. You can negotiate them buying you X, Y, and Z that you need or compensation for gas. But in this case, looking back after a year of being in the company, 2 years, what I didn't know at the time is they want to keep your attention as a company. They don't want you running to another company when you've have these accolades and you have these awards. Recruiters start noticing you. So what I should have asked
Oh
for in
yeah.
that moment was equity and be like, listen, I really want to stay at this company. I value
Hmm.
you. I'm loving it. What can we do about equity? And when you're a platinum performer or when you're a high performer, you don't need to just ask for more money. You could totally ask for those. And I'll tell you that the one person that started when I did at the same time, he asked for stock options every single year. He has way more stock options than me. And now the stock is crushing it. And I really regret
Wow.
asking. So see how those little things, all
Wow.
the manager would have to say is no. I went to bat for you. I couldn't get it. And I'd say, okay. But now I have regrets because I didn't ask. But moving forward, now I always ask for it. And I know that just because if I ask, it can't hurt, especially if you have a good
Hmm.
case behind you. And I don't ask for these things if I'm not hitting my goals and I'm not, top percent in the country. I ask for these things when I know that I'm valuing and I'm generating a lot of money and I'm hitting my goals and I'm checking all the boxes plus more. I'm operating at a higher level than it's necessary. That's when I ask. Now, if you're under plan, don't ask.
Yeah.
If you don't truly don't believe you deserve it, try not to do that.
Well, yeah, can you speak to that? Because how much yeah, how important are our actual results in our work? Like what role does that play in because people can play the victim too, like or sometimes it's like the chicken or the egg, like, my company's not giving me what I need. So am I checking out or am I going all in? And like curious what your thoughts are on that. What advice you'd give to Here's the question. Here's the first one. What advice you give to somebody that feels like they're stuck, they're checking out because their company's letting them down? What advice to leave them better?
Yeah. I have a client specifically I'm thinking of right now that feels very stuck. He's almost like checked out. And once you feel checked out, it's very tough to re-engage an employee as a manager. So you have to try to make sure that you're engaging them the whole time. And I will say, the second an employee gets quiet, you maybe have a problem. As much as you hate complainers or people that give you constant criticism, that means they care and they're engaged. The second they go quiet and they go rogue like that, they probably feel stuck and they don't care anymore. I'd say anybody that feels stuck in any situation, try to envision yourself in a year from now. What does that look like? Are you truly stuck in a relationship, in a job you don't like, in a house or in a city you don't like? Are you stuck, or is that a limiting belief you're telling yourself? Now, in this case of a job, I would tell someone never put your eggs in one basket. So if you're not happy where you are, What types of steps do you need to take to find another job that maybe values you more or treats you better or gives you what you're looking for? Go and apply. And if you don't apply to other jobs or even within the company, then you 6 months later, you are going to be miserable and it's going to impact your personal life, your life with your spouse, your life with your kids, whatever it may be, it's going to impact that. And once you get to that point, it's a lot harder to get a job because now you're desperate. You want to do it before you get to that. There's a sweet point. And so I always tell people interview every year. Even if you love what you're doing, try to know your value on the street. And that can also help get you more money too, if negotiated correctly. But that's a story for maybe another day.
Mm.
But I'd say if you're feeling stuck, I would make every necessary step to get out. And then if they won't give you what you want, look elsewhere. But always ask and always try to make the grass green where you are. If that doesn't work, apply elsewhere.
Do you think there's a percentage, no matter what the pool of people, there's a percentage that their like their expectation of themselves is just completely out of it's on a different universe than their actual value. And like no matter where they go, it's going to be some company's issue or something. Is it? And I'm curious if you think that and at what percentage, because you've had so much experience working with clients, like is there a ballpark?
I'd say that to break it down, there's people that undervalue themselves and they don't even know that they can negotiate. They have no idea what
Oh,
they're worth
that's good.
because they never really thought about it and they were never really told they were worth anything. So they believe it. And they may be told that by a boss, by a parent, by a spouse, by a significant other. Then you have the ones that are very level-headed, very self-aware, and they know what they can ask for. And those are people with they know they have their ego kind of checked at the door. And usually what these groups do is they check in with their manager in the beginning of the year and say, listen, I'm looking for platinum performer. I'm looking for a $10,000 raise. I'm looking for a promotion. What is it that I need to do to make sure that happens? What boxes do I need to check? And then those people right there in this section, they check every single box and then some. And they actually operate at a higher level. They're already operating at that promotional level, even though they don't have the promotion yet. Then you've got that bucket that you just mentioned, that third bucket, which is about it's not a high percent. I'd say about 10%. Honestly, it's low that are so unaware and you can tell by talking to them immediately in my space that believe they deserve the world even though they haven't done everything the manager asked. They haven't really played that game that they know they need to play, the box checking. And they walk in and they ask for the world. And the manager looks at them like, what makes you think you deserve that? Now, one, if they checked in the beginning of the year, said, hey, what do I need to do? You wouldn't have this misalignment. And if you have a good manager that also lets you know what you are not doing correctly, that helps too. And I'd say these people kind of come through and they don't last very long. You'll see they kind of job hop a lot. Um, and if I always tell these people that kind of in that third bucket, like put yourself in your manager's shoes. Would you promote you? And if the answer is no, then you should check your ego at the door.
That's great. No, I just visualized like a quadrant. It's like, like one of those quadrants, high, low, high, like high, low,
Yeah,
and
that's
then, competence and awareness. Yeah, so is it
I'm
the
visualizing that.
unaware and incompetent? Yeah, I should probably try to
Confidence
draw
and
it, but
awareness. I
like
like that because I think to be in that middle range that I mentioned, you need to be very self-aware and you need to be confident. And then you kind of have those
if
ones
you're
too far left or too far right or kind of on the opposite side of the
if
spectrum.
if I'm competent but I'm not aware of my gifts, I may never get paid my worth. So that's where the assertiveness training comes in. Great
Mhm.
client for you. You're like changed a life. If I'm incompetent and unaware, you can't help me if you tried, but I might be that angry customer. If right, because it's like no matter where I go, everybody sucks. If I'm incompetent and aware, can I change? In, right.
They
I'm
can,
trying
I
to, I need
will
to
tell
think
you,
this through.
yes, I know exactly that human, basically. I've had that client where they're overinflated. They think they're God's gift to the world. And the way that I kind of get them to understand that is we'll go through and I'm like, hey, let's walk through your achievements at each job. How did you bring value? What type of impact did you make? And give me dollar amounts, percentages, numbers. And when they can't deliver on that, they're like, okay, like maybe I haven't done as much as I thought.
Okay, so
So
taking them through that exercise as a third party, you think they'll be able to hear you a higher likelihood than maybe even their boss?
oh, yeah. Nobody listens to, yes, absolutely. They'll listen to absolutely. And the reason being is I don't have any skin in the game. I'm not the one paying you. I'm not the one giving you your evaluations. I'm just looking from the outside, like a therapist with like a really, like a couple. And I'm looking from the
Yeah.
outside and I can give advice on how to get there. And then they also send me links to jobs that they want to apply to. And we can look through those and be like, okay, you're 100% qualified for this role. You're 60% qualified for this role. Apply to both, but it kind of makes them more self aware too. So it's that motivational interviewing in a way, or the way in this case that I ask these questions that make them self aware, but nobody's asking them the questions. But if you're not solving problems or generating revenue or saving the day, then, maybe you need to change the way you're operating at work.
That this is awesome. I'm gonna work on this quadrant. We can edit it next time. It's
Yeah.
like underpaid, overpaid, paid at level, and then I don't know. It's very fascinating. You know, one other thing I want to ask is like with the last couple of years with inflation and before the election and all the wonkiness with that, the uncertainties, you think you see a rise in the amount of people thinking about, career, thinking about what they get paid. Like you think there's a connection? And that's been in a sense almost like I would think the great timing for your business.
It has been an interesting ride for this industry in general, but I'd say for the people that are looking for more money and they know their job just won't pay it, I'm seeing a huge increase in people wanting multiple lines of income or side hustles, which is something I love. So I have multiple lines of income. So that way, if my 9 to 5 job ever decides to drop me, it's no big deal. I have backup.
That's like the new culture.
It's a new culture and it's a huge hustle culture. And people are on TikTok selling
Interesting.
products. People are at calling. I get questions of people wanting to connect with me, be like, hey, listen, I really want to start a side business. Like, how do I do it? And I think it's because they know they kind of max out at their company. They can't get more for maybe what their job is. So they have some extra spare time. I'm noticing that big time because everything is so expensive. So if you can make an extra 5 grand a month on top of what you're already making, that'll pay for any extras or a couple $100, whatever it may be. That is going to make a
Yeah,
huge.
it's wild.
So I'm noticing it now more than ever, where before, when things were more reasonable, you could have one job and be fine. And I know this sounds maybe $100,000 used to be like the pinnacle. If I could just get 6 figures, I'll be comfortable. I know people that are single, no kids, maybe a dog, with reasonable, like, they're not overly extravagant, and 100 grand they can't save. I know people that can't save with 150 in that case. Now that's maybe just poor monetary planning, but it's not cheap to, like, I even go to grocery stores and it's just me.
Yeah, I
And
mean, isn't
I eat
300 the new
organic, but I'm like,
100?
why is it so expensive? It's crazy. And it's just me. And but I eat
Well,
nicer foods, but still it shouldn't cost this much to eat healthy. That's a whole nother tangent.
well, no, that's an interesting thought because not just things being more expensive, but also uh social media. I mean, how big of an impact do you see that having on so all your clients, all the people coach and come through? It's such an interesting data set. I'd be so curious of, their expectations, how the culture is changing of employment. It's like if it's the so I guess my question in that is, yeah, things are more expensive than ever. At the same time, it's like the bar is set, right? I'll give you an example. Yesterday, I was feeling down on myself because I found out that Elon Musk was worth 400 billion.
I saw that.
So I thought, what am I really? I'm not really living to my potential. And no, so okay, I'm insecure, and an entrepreneur. I can try to do something about it. So that's just me. Maybe that's impacting other people in different ways, right? Whether they see people at Mykonos or whatever. So my question in that is, of all the people you're talking to, you're collecting data on all these different age groups, right? I'm curious how you think social media is impacting all of our perceptions around what is enough or what we need
Ooh, that's huge. So
from the people you've talked to.
what's interesting is nothing seems to be really enough anymore because people are seeing on social media people living extravagantly or, having money or flaunting it. Where 30, 40 years ago, you only saw what was in your own neighborhood. You didn't see what somebody in Dubai was doing and how much they were spending. We have so much access not only to people, but we've never been so lonely. We have so much access to content and information and YouTube and ways to learn, yet people still feel like they can't get outside of what they're doing and change. That I think it's making a huge impact. Not to mention, too, the Elon Musk with the robots. I mean, I don't care what job you do. It's people are more replaceable now with AI and with ChatGPT than they've ever been. So that's something these companies are looking at, saying, okay, from a cost savings perspective, what can we optimize? What can we change? Who can we get rid of? Can we have robots answering the phones? What can we do? Now that's going to compete with us as people. So that's been changing, and people are very aware of it because of the media surrounding it. And there's outlets everywhere letting us know all about Elon Musk's robot that'll do your laundry, replace your cleaning lady. I mean, whoa, clean your car. I mean, this
Wow.
is
Yeah.
gonna go, and this is just we haven't even hit the the top, like not even come close to it. This is just the beginning. It
Mm.
really, this is going to change everything. And things that we saw back in 90s, like Smart House, that movie from Disney Channel, or whatever we used to see that we were like, that's so cool. That is going to happen very quickly now that we have the Elon Musk of the world. We have this technology that's there and maybe even been there that we're now getting access to as consumers.
Mm.
It's going to change, I think, a lot in corporate settings too. And I think from a perspective of people not wanting to work corporate because they can make $1 million off of TikTok a year, that's going to impact corporate. That's going to be interesting. We've
Oh yeah.
never seen that before, ever. And
So in closing for this episode, and I challenge everyone listening to go to season 18, episode 212. Very different conversation. Go listen to that after this. For the listeners that have a career that want to add income, what's your first, if you started over tomorrow and you want to, they want, and they're not just, they're still high performing in their career, right? So it doesn't have to be either or. Like clearly you're demonstrating that in your career. So they're not just trying to do it to kind of skate by, but they want to take things to the next level. For those listeners, what's your advice on how to start?
yeah, so I'd say you can always try to increase your income with your current company. And for me, that's always been something I've strived for, but I don't solely rely on them. So what I always did and I've always done is I start businesses based on what I'm skilled at, what I know, and what I'm passionate about. So if you look at any job I have or any company I've started, every single one of them is helping people. Every single one of them, because that's what I love to do. So I'm surrounding my skill set, which knowing, career coaching, positivity mindset, resume writing with helping people. And that's why it's successful. It's not successful because I shove it down people's throat. It's because I care about it and I want to help people. That's what drives me. That's what keeps me going this long. Most people would have stopped after a year or even this year. The burnout was real. I'm going to keep that very real. And there was moments where I was like, oh my gosh, like I just need a minute to myself. But I keep going because I don't want to tell people no. I want to help them. I want to see them succeed.
Mm,
So if you're going to do anything, make sure it's with good intention, that you're passionate, you have a skill set around it, and just go teach people exactly what it is that you do. So if you're in health and fitness, yet you're in corporate America, okay, start a business, start an Instagram. That's where I would start. Start an Instagram. You don't even need a website. TikTok, Instagram, and just start posting free information and put yourself out there. That's all step number one. You have to be vulnerable and put yourself out there. And then two, you start building those like services, offerings, figure out what people like, what are people demanding, and then you create a whole business around it. And you can expand from there. I knew nothing compared to what I know now 7 years ago. I just started with no plan in mind. I was like, let me help my friends and family for free.
Wow.
And now it's grown to what it is. So I would always advise anybody in any situation, no matter which path you're trying to get money from or what to do, just start. Just start. Don't have a plan. Don't tell people about it unless there's one person you can advise with. But have a vision, write it down, manifest it, write in your 5 minute journal that I absolutely love. Start acting like that person that you want to become or start creating that business that you want. Just start.
Lyndsey, thanks for coming back. This is awesome. I challenge our listeners, go listen to our last episode. Where's people can follow you on Instagram?
Yeah, so at Limitless with Lynds, that's Lynds. And then my website is www.limitlesswithlynds.com. And my TikTok is at Limitless with Lynds, the same as Instagram. And I'm also on LinkedIn for those that love LinkedIn.
Thank you for coming back to the show. I'm so excited about this. Thank you all for listening. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.